One of the things I love most about writing with God is that sometimes He answers questions I haven't even asked yet. After finishing chapter 4, I thought I had solved the problem of Oana fixing the damage she created in the original concept from 15 years ago. Instead, God called my attention to another problem. Not through a vision this time, through YouTube itself. A random video appeared in my feed titled "Primitive Pottery Made Easy for Beginners." I call these little moments breadcrumbs. Unlike the vision that shaped the Silveran religion, I wasn't given the solution. Instead, God simply pointed me in the right direction and invited me to keep digging. Over the years, I learned that I need to pay attention to moments like this because they often become part of the creative conversation God is having with me. I knew I needed to watch it because pottery appears in both chapters 4 and 5. In chapter 4, I refer to the clay pots sitting on the water platform. In chapter 5, they are mentioned again. Up until this point, I hadn't researched pottery because it isn't integral to making this story believable. The clay pots were simply there. Looking back, I think that's exactly why God chose this breadcrumb. It wasn't about fixing a plot hole. It was about taking care of the details. That simple YouTube video suddenly became a new question. Could the people of Noet actually make pottery? The obvious answer is they're surrounded by rock. The less obvious question is, but is there clay in the Hoodoo Desert? Thankfully, there is. Hoodoo landscapes are formed from layers of mudstone, silt, limestone, and clay-rich sediments that have been carved away over thousands of years. Nature does most of the excavation. Instead of digging through topsoil, people would collect clay directly from exposed canyon walls, dried washes, or ancient mudstone layers. That solved one problem. Then another appeared. If you've been following the world-building series, you already know Noet survives because of continuous volcanic activity. Those volcanoes produce the atmospheric gases that keep the planet habitable around its red dwarf star. Without those volcanic gases, Noet doesn't exist. The problem is, volcanic gases have consequences. Sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere creates acid rain. It makes the fog acidic, the mist acidic. Even the smell of an approaching storm changes. Instead of the fresh scent we associate with rain on Earth, storm season would smell like someone had just struck a match. A sharp, sulfurous tang would drift across the Hoodoo Desert long before the clouds arrived. Scientifically, that made perfect sense. Narratively, it ruined everything. Chapter 5 calls attention to the upcoming storm season. The Emberborn are outside. The rainwater is coming. Up to this point, they survive by collecting rainwater in the clay pots. Acid rain doesn't exactly cooperate with that scene. Then another problem appeared. The ancient Calric's water harvesting system is still in ruins. The Emberborn don't have functioning reservoirs. They don't have running water. They don't have purified storage. So where are they getting drinking water? I suddenly realized I had built 3 different water systems for the Calric's, the Silverans, and the Wildlings, who haven't been introduced until now. Without ever explaining how the Emberborn survive while those systems remain broken. Then the pottery research kept unfolding. Clay needs water. Raw clay has to be processed before it can become pottery. It has to be slacked, cleaned, tempered, shaped, dried, and fired. Even after all of that, the pot still isn't waterproof. It has to be burnished or glazed before it can actually hold drinking water. The more I learned, the bigger the problem became. You need water to make containers that hold water. It felt like one of those impossible survival loops. The pottery research did answer one question. Volcanic ash strengthens clay. The minerals carried in volcanic dust improve the firing process and create stronger ceramics. So that was helpful, but it wasn't enough. If all I needed was a stronger pot, the calrix could have simply crushed volcanic rock into the clay. The real problem was still waiting for me: the atmosphere. The storms in chapter 5 and 11 are essential to the story. The Emberborn need to collect rainwater. They need to drink it. The acid rain has to go. Then the research took yet another turn. I discovered there are geological processes capable of naturally neutralizing acidic rain on a planetary scale. One possibility immediately stood out: the Hoodoo Desert itself. The Hoodoos are rich in limestone and calcite. On a tidally locked planet with constant winds, fine calcite dust could be lifted high into the atmosphere where it would mix with the acidic volcanic clouds. Instead of falling as sulfuric acid, the chemistry changes. The acid reacts with the calcite and is transformed into mineral salts such as gypsum, calcium sulfate, and potassium compounds before the rain ever reaches the ground. That solved the rain problem. However, I wondered if I had accidentally created a new pottery problem. See, the acidic volcanic rain had actually been helping the pottery. Those dissolved volcanic minerals lowered the melting point of clay, acting as a natural chemical flux during firing. If I neutralized the rain with the calcite, would I lose that benefit? The answer surprised me. The chemistry didn't disappear, it transformed. Instead of carrying harsh volcanic acids that could create unpleasant odors, unstable firing conditions, and blistered pottery, the neutralized rain carried dissolved mineral salts. Those salts are exactly the kinds of compounds potters have used for centuries: calcium, sodium, potassium. Some of the most effective natural fluxes available. In other words, the geology wasn't fighting the pottery, it was preparing it. The same rainwater that became safe enough for the Emberborn to collect also became a high-quality chemical primer for their ceramics. Then I realized something else. Back in chapter 4, I described the water sitting in the clay pots as cloudy with a bitter taste. The cloudy appearance was right. However, I got the taste wrong. It wouldn't really be bitter, it would be brackish. The tiny detail became another revision to make the world feel just a little more believable. This is where the breadcrumb became a meal. The more I researched, the more I realized I was asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, where do they get drinking water? The question is, what happens to every drop of water after it's used? In a world where water is precious, nothing gets wasted. The water used to process the clay can't simply become drinking water again. Once it has dissolved minerals from the raw clay, it becomes unsuitable to drink. Even if the sediment could be removed, the dissolved mineral content remains. So that water has to keep working then. It becomes the next batch of clay. It becomes glaze. It becomes mortar. Everything is recycled because survival depends on it. Then another connection clicked into place. When I built the ancient calrix water harvesting system, I had already spent weeks researching how those systems worked. Then I had to ask another question. What would happen if that system sat abandoned for generations after a war? The answer was surprisingly detailed. The water would disappear, algae would dry into brittle sheets along the stone basins, minerals carried by the water would slowly crystallize as it evaporated, leaving thick deposits coating the pools. That's why in chapter 4, the workers are scraping dried mineral crystals from the ruined basins to make mortar. That detail wasn't an accident. It came from researching what abandoned water systems actually leave behind. The pottery research simply revealed something I hadn't connected before. Those same mineral deposits aren't only useful for construction. Many of those minerals can also be crushed and added back into clay. Quartz, feldspar, calcite, depending on the mineral, they strengthen the pottery, improve its resistance to thermal shock, or change the way it behaves during firing. Suddenly, those abandoned basins weren't just remnants of a forgotten civilization. They had become another resource. The ruins themselves were still teaching the Emberborn how to survive. One of the things I'm discovering while building Noet is that God rarely answers only the question I'm asking. I started with clay pots sitting at a table. God answered with geology, atmospheric chemistry, ancient pottery, volcanic ash, water purification, survival engineering, and an entirely new approach for the people living inside the world. That little clay pot wasn't just a prop. It was the beginning of understanding how an entire civilization survives. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, keep creating because every world begins with God and imagination.